Remember the 90s? Grunge, Spice Girls, plaid. But you know what else was in the 90s? Performance cars. They seemed to be everywhere, and this was especially true in Japan, where just about every model seemed to have some sort of performance edition.
And the two brands that were really leading the charge were Toyota and Honda, with models like the Prelude and MR2, Supra, NSX. These were some of the most in-demand machines of its era.
Now, fast forward 25 years later, and Honda and Toyota are at it again. Look behind us, we have the Civic Type R and the GR Corolla. These are two of the most talked about cars of 2023. So naturally, we had to get them together for a little contest between these hot hatches.
So we're here at Toronto Motorsports Park, but not to set really fast laps or record times, but rather just to spend some time behind the wheel and determine which one we engage with more, which one is more fun. So let's get to it.
We'll get you back to the track in a second, but first let's talk about our sponsor. Custom made for an exact fit, WeatherTech offers complete protection for your vehicle's interior, even for performance cars like these. There's the original WeatherTech floor liner and new floor liner HP made from a more flexible material. Both work with your OE floor mat clips to protect up the sides of your footwell, plus the floor liner HP comes with these spikes for even better grip. I have one set in my car and the other in my wife's car, and we both love them. And let's not forget the cargo liner, which is great to protect your car from tools, fluids, tires, and whatever else you might be bringing to the track. All WeatherTech products come with a lifetime guarantee, so do yourself a favor and click on the link in the description below and find the perfect fit for your car today. The GR Corolla may not actually be derived from a rally car, but I can feel the rally car influence in almost every aspect of this car. First, there's the turbocharged 3-cylinder. It measures the exact same 1.6 liters that were used in the WRC up until 2021. In this car, it makes an impressive 300 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque. It's a very rev-happy engine that makes most of its power at the top end. Once power builds, it accelerates quickly well into triple-digit speeds. That said, it can't quite compete with the larger Type R's engine though, as the Honda pulls harder at all engine speeds. If I were to rate the acceleration of these two cars out of 10, I'd give the GR Corolla a solid 9 and the Type R an 11, maybe even a 12. The GR Corolla has a triple exhaust setup with two conventional tips at either side and a larger oval tip dead center. They let out a throaty sound that's unique and can be adjusted volume-wise through the drive mode. The Toyota's clutch is light and easy to engage with moderate travel. I find it's easier to find the uptake point here than the one in the Type R. The Corolla's 6-speed manual transmission is precise in engagement but very mechanical in feel and not as refined as that found in the Civic. Both cars can engage automatic rev-matching downshifts for the manual transmission, and I like how easy it is to turn the feature on and off in the GR Corolla. It's simply the push of a button that's found under the steering wheel. In the Type R, it needs to be enabled or disabled through a menu screen that can only be accessed when the parking brake is engaged. Unlike the Type R, the GR Corolla has a traditional pull-lever parking brake. The meaty handle is perfectly placed beside the driver and is just begging to be pulled to enable a drift around a dirt chicane. Although the GR Corolla features this cool wide body, the Civic Type R is still a few inches wider. It also is longer and has a lower roofline, which when parked side by side makes the Corolla seem like a more traditional upright hatchback. Being the smaller car, it's no surprise the Toyota has less headroom, legroom, or cargo capacity. That said, I'm about 6 feet tall and I easily fit in the front seat of the car with a lot of headroom to spare. The front seat itself is supportive and comfortable enough, but it can't touch the awesome seats in the Type R. Maybe the upgraded seats in the GR Corolla Circuit would be a better match, but we only have the entry-level core model here on hand. When it comes to the rear seats, they offer little space and it's really the domain for smaller humans only. Headroom isn't too bad, but legroom is severely lacking. The GR Corolla is not about hauling people or stuff, it's about the massive amounts of fun you can have behind the wheel. This car is easily the more approachable car to drive at speed. There's hardly any learning curve here and I feel so confident driving it around the track almost immediately. It's a car that a greater range of skill levels will enjoy driving. Quick switchbacks, slow tight corners, or long sweepers. It's simply a matter of point the GR Corolla and go. If overdriven, it has a tendency to wash out rather than snap around. which is more predictable and, more importantly, easier to control for most drivers. The sheer power, pace, and grip of the Type R, on the other hand, requires greater concentration, planning, and skill. It's more hardcore and definitely benefits from a more experienced driver. Part of the reason it's so easy to drive the GR Corolla fast has to do with the all-wheel drive system. It defaults to split power front to rear at a 60-40 ratio. Drivers can manually switch it to 30-70 for a more rear-wheel drive bias, or use a track mode that gives it a 50-50 split. During my time with the vehicle, I mostly had it in the 30-70 split, and that, combined with a standard Torsen differentials front and rear, provided all the grip I ever needed. But, and this is an important but, I never got to try the car out in snow, rain, or dirt. Maybe next time, Mike, maybe next time. And now on to the weakest part of the GR Corolla, the interior. Inside, it's full of a lot of non-premium materials, and the design is about as blah as it comes. In contrast, the Civic Type R has a well-appointed, premium-feeling interior. I really love Honda's fantastic honeycomb design that goes across the dash through the vents. There's also some contrasting trim elements throughout. Inside the Corolla, many parts of the design feel a decade or two old already, like the shiny plastic doors, the toggle switch heated seats, or the roof liner. It sure doesn't feel like I'm sitting in a nearly $40,000 car, well, until I start driving it. But at this price point, a bit of interior flash would be appreciated. Feature-wise, the GR Corolla core can't really match up to the Civic Type R either, but I do have pretty much everything I need, even if I'm missing a few things I want. I have a fully digital gauge cluster, a nice infotainment system, I have buttons to control the center differential and the drive modes, and there's automatic climate control. Heck, there's even some things in here not found in the Type R, like heated seats. It's clear Toyota put all the money in the GR Corolla into the mechanical bits, and I applaud them for doing it. The small wheelbase, fantastic all-wheel drive system, quick steering, and rev-happy engine are a perfect combo for fun. And hearing the turbo blow off every time I switch gears just adds to that enjoyment. The GR Corolla is the more irrational choice, as it's a purpose-built impractical enthusiast special. The Civic Type R is a little more functional, well-equipped, and premium, but it's also some $7,000 more expensive. That's a huge savings for the GR Corolla, especially for those who live in an area that can benefit from all-wheel drive.
If I'm honest with you, I always found the previous generation Honda Civic Type R a little cold, a little emotionless. I mean, I totally get and respect that it's an extremely accomplished car, and in terms of its performance, it was almost surgical, it was so precise. But it always seemed as if it was conceived in a room full of engineers who really they had a sole mission to make the fastest front-wheel drive car possible without any fun whatsoever. The result was a wickedly quick car that handled better than any front driver should, but it did it without any real fanfare or fun. It just kind of succeeded. Plus, its over-the-top styling was, well, it was just a little too overt for many folks, including yours truly. The good news is that this new Civic Type R exceeds the old model objectively in terms of its performance, but it now has a personality too. And if you can ignore the obnoxious wing on the back, its dialed-in styling really looks pretty sensational. In fact, parked next to the GR Corolla, it kind of makes the little Toyota look like the proverbial weakling about to get sand kicked in its face by the bully Honda here. The Type R's oh-so-appropriate championship white paint looks richer and creamier compared to the stark white of the GR Corolla. And all this blacked out trim, or at least the trim that isn't the red badging, just seems to suit this car so well. The overall shape of the Civic is more fastback than hatchback, and the vents and flares here, well, they're all functional. And those wheels, whew, boy, they're so wide that, you know, even the steamroller like 265 with rubber seems just stretched out to reach the rim. They just look perfect. Just like the GR Corolla, this car also gets its start in a very basic, affordable hatchback format. The difference is that even a basic Honda Civic has a very nice interior. This car is no different. Where it does differ, however, is that these seats, in spectacular red finish, are really well bolstered, so they hold you into place really well on the track, but they're also really comfortable. So if you've got to do a long commute, you'll be just fine in this thing. The back seat too. It's got plenty of room for two people, which certainly the GR Corolla, you can't say the same thing, and the cargo area on this thing is also the biggest in its class. The digital gauge display can be set up for track mode with all sorts of performance measures, plus a sequential shift light that lets a driver know when that 7,000 RPM red line is approaching. Honda has also added their Log-R application for the infotainment system with all sorts of telemetry gathering performance data. It's all stuff to remind a driver that this is a serious performance machine. Serious, yes, but tons of fun too. Like the GR Corolla, the Civic Type R comes only with a 6-speed manual, and Honda has carried over its trademark aluminum shift knob. If you can get past feeling like you're shifting an ice cube in the winter or threatening to brand your palm in the summer, it does reinforce the focus on precision with this gearbox. While stick shifts are threatening extinction with every new model, the Type R's shifter will be regarded as among the very best of all time. There's not another one that comes to mind that's so direct, so precise, and with such a perfectly spaced gait. But the shifter plays only one part in this band, and the way that the throttle is calibrated and the clutch is weighted, it makes you wonder if every shifter had been made this good, would automatics have even become a thing? Not to be outdone, the wizards who conjured the steering did an equally impressive job. The steering wheel is chatty in your hands, letting the driver know if those massive Michelins are about to relinquish their grip on the pavement, as if. And the steering itself, it's quick, but it's also incredibly precise, seemingly responding via telepathy instead of subtle finger movements. In fact, fingertip inputs are almost all that's ever needed to steer this car, even on the track. The GR Corolla is fun and playful, and its steering chatters away happily too, but there isn't the level of precision that's crafted into this Honda steering. The suspension utilizes adaptive dampers, but even in its most comfortable mode, the Type R feels as poised and connected as anything else in the class when it's dialed into its stiffest settings. And the grip here is remarkable. The downside is that the Civic's ride is pretty firm, and it'll jostle passengers a fair bit over rough roads. The Type R's engine is largely carried over from the last generation. It's still a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, but it now throws down 315 horsepower and 310 pounds-feet of torque, which is a bit more power but significantly more twist than the GR Corolla. Factor in the Honda's lighter mass, and it's no surprise that the Type R is immediately and obviously quicker in a track setting than the Toyota. The standard mechanical limited slip differential helps the Type R manage its power when exiting corners better than expected for a front driver, but when the pedal is mashed, a driver still needs to wrestle the steering wheel a little bit to keep the torque steer from sending the car all over the track. Honda has also given this engine a lighter flywheel than in the past, and it helps it rev more freely. And as somebody who is also a big fan of motorcycles, I can tell you that I can't remember a car that gives me as much the sensation of revving at one of Honda's CBR 600 motorcycles as this thing does. And that's a good thing. Fans of performance compact cars are really spoiled for choice right now. There are some truly great options. Toyota's GR Corolla is a fantastically fun little machine. It's got the personality of a scrappy little tireless puppy. But its interior is a little Spartan, and it does feel a class or two below the Civic Type R. Honda has truly done the unimaginable, and they have dynamically improved what was already the best in class, best in the world front drive performance car. And they've made it dynamically superior, given it a better interior, better looks, and more personality. Let's be honest here, both of these are excellent machines and a lot of fun to drive.
Yeah, but we do need to pick a winner. And you know what? After thinking about it a lot, the Honda's gonna take the win. The Corolla is a lot of fun to drive and one of the most engaging cars I've driven this year. But the Civic Type R is just as engaging, and it's more premium and just a better all-around car. So in this contest, it is the Type R. But if you want to save a bit of money, this is a fantastic vehicle as well. Thanks again to our sponsor, WeatherTech. Be sure to hit the link in the description below for more.